Alright, we've been told to expect the ILS runway 4 pecan transition, and we've been cleared direct to the pecan VOR. The lowest altitude we can descend to is en route altitude. We're going to hold for now at 8,000 since we haven't been cleared down. I'm going to set the ILS into nav 1. It's 108.5.
Beach 43 Foxtrot. Turn left heading 125. Turn left heading.
Okay, we're not far. We're too far out to receive it at the moment. I'm going to turn heading. Hold on real quick as I set the inbound radial is 044.
Piper Niner Moffett Hotel. Contact Atlanta departure on 119.6. Cessna 2 Charlie Delta. Descend and maintain 2,300. Cleared visual approach runway 2D. Switch to 51 Alpha advisory on 122.9.
Alrighty. So let's do the approach briefing real quick. Again, you need to be familiar with the instrument procedures before attempting to fly an ILS approach. Alright, so this is the ILS localizer runway 4 into Albany, Georgia. Primary nav aid is the ILS India Alpha Bravo Yankee, which I have tuned on to nav 1 radio. We're still too far out to receive it. The transition is going to be the pecan VOR transition. Minimum safe altitude for that is 2,600. The minimums for this approach will be 396. Oops, I screwed that, messed that up. Alright, so minimums were 396. Go ahead and set that.
ILS approach runway 2. Beach 4 Whiskey Charlie. Turn right heading 235. Descend 3,500. Expect vectors visual approach.
Minimums are set.
Beach 4 Whiskey Charlie. Turn right heading 235. Climb 8,500.
Visual descent point is not applicable.
5 Bravo Foxtrot. Contact Atlanta approach on 125.5. 125.5. Cessna 5 Bravo Foxtrot. Goodbye. Atlanta approach. Cessna November 275 Bravo Foxtrot with you 8,000.
Alright, missed approach. In the event of a missed approach, we climb to 1,000, then turn left, climbing to 2,000, direct to the pecan VOR for a teardrop entry into the hold pattern. Touchdown zone elevation is 196 feet. Notes: RVR 1,800 authorized for use with flight director, autopilot, HUD to decision altitude. Landing runway will be runway 4, straight in approach. The approach light, there is a Mauser on this runway. And medium intensity runway lights, I believe. Yep, medium intensity, actually high intensity runway lights and a Mauser. Configuration will fly the approach at 90 knots with the flaps set to 10. And the autopilot will not be used. That's the approach briefing complete. Alright, we're about 30 miles out now.
Cessna 9 Whiskey Kilo. Turn left heading 095. Turn left heading 095.
There's the pecan VOR on the GPS. Alright, so at this point, once we get within 25 miles of the VOR, we can descend down to 2,600, which is the minimum safe altitude. We haven't been cleared for the approach yet, so we actually have not been cleared to descend. We've just been cleared to the pecan VOR.
Cessna 9 Whiskey Kilo. Turn left heading 065.
So we've completed the approach briefing. We need to do our next chart reference, which is weather in ATIS. I'll grab that real quick.
Albany Airport information, Foxtrot 2248 Zulu. Wind 024 at 6. Visibility 20. Sky conditions. Traffic. Temperature 15. Dew point 9. Altimeter 3029. ILS
3019.
Landing and departing runway 4.
Traffic.
Runway 4 is in use.
Traffic. Traffic. Traffic.
Traffic's no factor.
Traffic.
TIS is overly sensitive on this plane. Alright, next chart reference is the transition altitude, which is 2,600.
Traffic.
Alright, we can descend down to 2,600 now.
Alright, real quick, I just want to point out I actually make a mistake right there. Yes, I do need to start down to 2,600, but I was not actually cleared to descend yet. So, in that situation, when you need to go ahead and start descending, but you have not been cleared for descent, what you need to do is call ATC and ask for permission to descend. So what I should have done was got on to ATC, as you can see I was using default ATC, and requested a lower altitude. So, listen to what I'm saying, not what I did. I should have requested a lower descent. I was not cleared for my descent when I did that. Although I did need to start descending at that point, I was not cleared for it, so I would have had to request it from ATC, and they could have approved or denied that. So, just so you know, I did make a mistake right there, and I didn't edit it out because I secretly like showing people my screw-ups. So, learn from what I've screwed up, and know that you need to request your descent. You were not allowed to descend until you were either cleared for the approach, or specifically told you were cleared to descend. So, yeah, I screwed up. Listen to what I'm saying, not what I'm doing.
North, clear ILS, runway 4, approach via opposite Zulu Delta, transition, maintain 2,200 until established on the localizer. Contact Albany Tower on 120.25 when inbound on the approach. Clear ILS, runway 4, approach via opposite Zulu Delta, transition, maintain 2,200 until established. Tower on 120.25, Cessna 5 Bravo Foxtrot.
Alright, we've been cleared for the approach. The lowest altitude we can descend to right now is 2,600. I've set the Albany Tower COM2 standby and Albany Grounds on COM1 active. We'll begin slowing down for the approach. I have set the pointer for nav2 as the outer marker, and we have received the ILS. Let's tune nav1 audio to make sure we have the right one. Alright, that is the ILS. That's the correct frequency. And let's tune the ADF to make sure we have the correct outer marker. That is the correct outer marker. Now, a note with ADFs on outer markers, the only way to know if they have failed is to keep the frequency tuned and listen to the audio the entire time. I am not about to do that. Alright, so we'll select heading hold. I'm going to set CDI, PCAN VOR, and we need to set the outbound course for CDI. The radial we need to fly is 178. So this is us flying the full procedure ILS runway 4 into Albany. Alright, passing over the PCAN VOR, turn left and establish on the PCAN 178 radial outbound. Descend down to 2,200. Got the autopilot on for now. I'll cut it off in a second, but we've been told to stay on this frequency until we are flying the approach inbound. Alright, autopilot is off. Gonna turn my lights on. Outside of the cone of confusion now. Alright, at this point, we just want to track this radial outbound. Alternatively, we could also bracket to the NDB, the outer marker. Alright, so what we need to think about, our next chart reference will be the outbound course, which will just track the localizer outbound. And we are already at the intermediate altitude, so there is no reason to descend or worry about that. Let's see. So, okay, so we're on the radial now. It took me a while to get established on it, but here we are. And we'll just track this radial outbound. Okay, so since there's no need to descend down to intermediate altitude, we could do the procedure turn on this approach at any time. Normally you would have to, when you decide to do the procedure turn, depends on if you have to descend after doing the procedure turn or not. We don't have to, since we're already at intermediate altitude. That traffic is no factor, he's way over there. So all we need to do, we'll fly outbound for, we'll say 1 or 2 minutes on the clock. Let me bring that up. And then we will turn around on the procedure turn. So as we track, I'm going to set procedure turn heading, which is 269. Procedure turn heading is set. I'm going to set CDI to nav 1, and then we'll just track to the NDB now, since we're close enough to it. Okay, we have the glide slope on the display now.
Jacksonville Center, Beach November 764 November Foxtrot, with you 2,300. Beach November 764 November Foxtrot, Jacksonville Center, roger, altimeter 3029er.
A little too low.
November Foxtrot, airport is...
Alright, so we just continue flying to the NDB at this point until the localizer comes alive, then we intercept and fly the localizer outbound. We'll fly the localizer outbound for 1.5 to 2 minutes, then we'll do the procedure turn. Once we do the procedure turn, we fly the localizer inbound until we capture the glide slope. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the big differences between precision and non-precision approaches is when you start the final leg. On non-precision approaches, the final approach leg starts at the final approach fix, but on precision approaches, the final approach leg starts at glide slope intercept. So there is technically no final approach fix, although we do kind of have one on this approach since we have a locator hour marker. Alright, we're less than 5 miles from localizer intercept. I can tell that because of the inset map on my GPS. Alright, localizer should be coming alive any second now. You see we are above glide slope at the moment. I got marker audio turned off. Actually, I should go ahead and turn that on since we'll be flying over it. Alrighty, we're passing over the outer marker now. Localizer is coming alive. I'm going to start my turn to fly localizer outbound. There's the marker. Alright, we just need to track the localizer outbound now. Again, no descent, we're at 2,200 already. I'm going to throttle back and set flaps to 10. I want to start slowing down for the approach now. Alrighty, wings are level, starting the clock. We want to track outbound for 1 minute. Next chart reference is the course reversal heading, which I have already set. by the book, you would want to track outbound for 3 minutes, but I'm worried that might put us too far out. Remember, you have to stay within 10 nautical miles of the airport for this approach. For most approaches, you have to stay within the 10-mile circle of the primary nav aid, in which case this is a localizer, so we want to stay within 10 miles of the airport.
Traffic. 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 Traffic.
Coming up on 1 minute.
Traffic. Traffic. Traffic.
Okay, there's 1 minute. I'm going to turn right and do the procedure turn.
Traffic. 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 Traffic.
Alright, resetting the clock. Fly procedure turn heading for 1 minute.
Traffic. 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 Traffic.
Next chart reference, intermediate altitude is not applicable.
Traffic. 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 Traffic.
Coming up on 1 minute.
Traffic. Traffic. Traffic.
1 minute. Make a left turn opposite this current heading and intercept the localizer inbound.
Jacksonville Center, Bombardier November 1932 November is at 3,600, climbing 9,000. Bombardier November 1932 November, Jacksonville Center, Roger, altimeter 3029er.
I'm using current real-world weather, and I'm in real time, so this is what the conditions are really like at Albany at time of recording. Level off on procedure turn inbound. Alright, maintain 2,200, intercept the localizer and fly it inbound. Okay, when we see the localizer moving, we call localizer alive. So localizer is alive. Okay, we will start the turn when it just hits that last circle before it hits middle. There's that circle there, so we're going to go ahead and start the standard rate turn to the left to intercept the localizer. Overshot it a bit. Alright, now that we are on the localizer, normally we could descend down to the intermediate altitude at this point if we wanted to. We're already at intermediate altitude, so there's no need. We'll tune tower since we're now flying inbound. At this point we just fly the localizer inbound until the glide slope comes alive. So now I'll call tower.
Albany Tower, Cessna November 275 Bravo Foxtrot is 11 miles southwest inbound ILS, runway 4 approach. Cessna November 275 Bravo Foxtrot, Albany Tower, fly straight in, runway 4, altimeter 3029er. Fly straight in, runway 4, Cessna 5 Bravo Foxtrot.
Alright, I see the approach lights. The weather is, it's just a bit of a medium ceiling, so there's no visibility restrictions. You can consider this a practice ILS approach. Okay, marker audio is on. Looks like there's an airplane ahead of us. Okay, so like with any precision approach, final approach leg begins at glide slope intercept. At this altitude, we should intercept glide slope right at the outer marker. Okay, so once we intercept the glide slope and we get established on a good descent down on it, we have several things to do, and I'll walk you through it once we get there. Reset the clock. Looks like there is traffic landing at Albany in front of us. He's way up there though. He should be clear by the time we come in. Okay, so as we approach the outer marker, we want to look for movement on the glide slope needle and then call glide slope alive. We have movement on the needle, so glide slope is alive. And once we capture the needle, then we'll call glide slope captured. Turn the yaw dampener off. Hold 2,200. There's the outer marker. And glide slope's captured right at the outer marker. Alright, so we're going to throttle back slightly and pitch down. We want to ride the glide slope down. A 3-degree glide slope at most ground speeds would be a 700 foot per minute descent.
6 Mike 3, contact ground on 121.9er. 121.9er, Cessna 6 Mike 3.
Alright, so now that we're on the glide slope down, next chart reference will be decision height, which is 969, or wait, what did I say it was? 369 feet, which I did set earlier. Okay, so that's decision height.
Number 275, Bravo Foxtrot wind 025 at 6, clear to land runway 4. Clear to land runway 4.
So unlike precision approaches, we don't have a missed approach point. Our own precision approaches, unlike non-precision approaches. So the missed approach point is actually the decision height. Once we hit decision height, if we cannot land, then we go around. So there is no missed approach point. Time to missed approach point does not apply for this approach. And missed approach will be straight out to 1,000. Okay, throttle back some more so we can start slowing down. Okay, so as we approach within 1,000 feet of minimums, we want to do the gump check. And there we are, 1,000 from minimum, so blue line gump. Gas, undercarriage, mixture, and prop, everything looks good. Okay, so as we approach minimums, we want to call 100 feet before minimums, we want to call the approaching minimums call. And then once we arrive at minimums, we want to call minimums. Now, when I said the missed approach chart reference and read just the climb straight ahead to 1,000, that's the first part of the missed approach. The idea of reading the first part again right here is, since if you do have to do a missed approach, you want to have it fresh in your mind, but you only read the first part because you're going to be really busy doing the missed approach and cleaning the aircraft up, so you don't want to be worrying about it. Just do the first part, which is climb straight ahead to 1,000. I got the runway in sight now, so there's no need to worry about the missed approach. We should be able to land. Have a slight crosswind from the left, but for the most part the winds are down the runway. Alright, so when we get within 100 feet of minimums, we'll call approaching minimums. Approaching minimums, runway in sight. Middle marker, minimums, landing. I don't know if this one has an inner marker or not, it might. Nice landing. Reverse thrust engage. Red line, idle reverse. Alright, we'll turn right off of the runway. Landing lights off, strobe lights off. Flaps up.
Thrust revised. Bravo Foxtrot. Contact ground on 121.9er.
2121.9er. Cessna 5 Bravo Foxtrot. Goodbye.
Alright, now I'll just switch over to ground. I'm not going to contact them. Instead, I'm just going to select my parking spot. Let's see. We'll go to slot 4, I guess. Alright, there's slot 4's opened up. And we'll just taxi over to ground control, or over to the parking spot. Alright, so that is how you fly the full procedure ILS approach. It takes some practice. It definitely does take some practice to be able to get good at it. Now that's the full procedure. If you were getting radar vectors, then you wouldn't have to worry about the transition that we did. Radar vectors is nothing more than a type of transition. In which case, ATC will give you headings and altitudes to fly to take you right to the final approach fix at the final approach, at the glide slope intercept altitude of the final approach fix. So they would bring you down to 2,200 and then take you right to the outer marker. That's what radar vectors is. Alrighty. Versus we did a full procedure ILS approach, so we wouldn't have needed radar vectors really. Alright, so hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely do try to practice ILS approaches whenever you can. Definitely a good skill to have, especially when you can't get down. Weather's good today, so actually could have done a visual approach, but sometimes you need the ILS if the weather's so bad that you need to go lower than what non-precision approach minimums will let you go. So we just parked the aircraft. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.